The opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Step outside of your comfort zone. See the world with a whole new perspective. Join us and experience the unexplained on the Paranormal View.
And welcome everybody right here to the Paranormal View on the Parax Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to stop by and be with us tonight. Hope everybody has a great time and hope everybody's had a great weekend so far. It's been really nice here. Been not real warm, so we've had a real nice day. I've been out running around. So, and those listening from around the world, we appreciate each and every one of you also. And if you are listening from somewhere other than here in the chat room and you want to come and join all these wonderful people, you can come to the paranormal, that ain't right. You can come to para-x.com and click on the live chat button, and you'll be in with all these wonderful people. And then you'll get to hear the Paranormal View. How's that sound? That's even better. So with that, if you have questions tonight, and you want to send them over to us, so you can private chat them to either Ceiling Cat. You can even private chat them to this person, Marla Stirs the Cauldron, or myself, Henry Foister, and we will get those questions out. And if you're listening somewhere else and have questions, you can send them to the paranormalview@gmail.com. We will get those answered. So tonight we have with us, and I just want to let everybody know that last week we was live at the Bell Nursing Home, and we had some kind of sound issues a little bit. But we got that ironed out, and tonight everything should be sounding great. So we have with us tonight Barbara Duncan.
I'm here.
And we got Geoffrey Gould.
Hello, hello. Not been kicked off yet.
And we have a special guest with us tonight who is actually going to help us with a lot of stuff, because our show tonight is...
Needs a lot of help? Oh, wait.
I need a lot of help. But tonight our show is going to be about Halloween. And our special guest tonight is... Jeff, why don't you introduce?
No, it's not me. I'm just a co-host. Well, tonight's guest is one of our all-time top favorites, the lovely and talented Marla Brooks, paranormal investigator and author of 10 books, 4 on ghosts, 2 on magic with a K, and CK, and 4 on cooking and television, and the novel Bad Case of the Collywobbles. Marla hosts Stirring the Cauldron here on para-x.com on Thursday evenings, and while occasionally battling with Witch Hunter Canada geese while visiting Hollywood Forever Cemetery, Marla is always welcome here at the Paranormal View. So welcome back, Marla Brooks. Yay!
Well, hello, and thank you.
All right. Well, we're glad you're here, because tonight's show is dealing with Halloween.
Well, but before we do that,
what?
Marla also has a line of oils and incense, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, she does. And I forget what the name of those are, but Marla will be able to tell us. I know. I don't myself.
Well, actually, I kind of had to pull those. Yeah, I mean, it was... That love potion, 9 3/4 get a little too randy. Well, no. Let's just say that the distributor had some issues.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go. That's a nice way to say it. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know all about that. So that's good right there.
Did they forget strychnine is not a preservative or something?
That probably wouldn't have been a bad thing.
I think they was using too many bat wings, and I believe they put some toads in it.
Yeah, it could be a little
The
eye
bad
of,
case of the eyes of Newt.
yeah, exactly, the little eye of Newt thing. But yeah, I actually though, okay, I can plug this because it's not even going to happen quite yet, but I should. That I am coming out probably next year with a kind of a starter kit of crystals and stones that have to do with the Wheel of the Year. So there's going to be like one stone for each Sabbath and a booklet that goes along with it about the stone and how to use it and stuff like that. It's coming out by Schiffer. So, and in a really cute little box and everything. And I'm saying it's a starter kit because each Sabbath has a whole bunch of different stones that are associated with it. But just kind of picking, the good ones. And it'll be like, you'll get stones and a booklet and how to use them and all that good stuff at the same time. So I'm kind of excited about that. And each stone will have an incantation as well.
Hmm.
So,
Along with your oracle deck.
kind of like that, yeah. Yeah, and you probably can use the stones with the oracle deck. Everything's kind of, branding in together there. But I just thought it was kind of interesting. I've had, and you guys should have him on, Nicholas Pearson, who is like the gemstone expert on crystals and stones. And he's been on my show a couple of times because he's written 2 or 3 books. And they're really good. So that kind of got me a little bit more interested in crystals and stones, more than, I knew. And he's the guy I had. All right, here, I'm taking over the show, but this is a good story.
You're the guest. That's your job.
It's not. But when my mom passed away, with her stuff, there was this big, huge rock. And I mean, it was like a 2-handed rock to hold on to. And it was black and it was shiny. And I really thought it was a shiny lump of tar. I did. I thought maybe she went to the La Brea tar pits at some point in her life and had some tar. And I didn't know what to do with it, but I didn't want to throw it out. So I've had it for years. Didn't know, whatever. But when Nicholas came on my show and he started talking about different things, I thought, well, I'm going to ask him. So I sent him over a picture of this huge rock, this piece of tar, this shiny piece of tar. And in about 30 seconds, he came back with, oh my God, that's a huge piece of obsidian.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's a good thing I didn't throw it out. But anyway, that kind of got me, and listening to him on the show got me kind of more interested in stones and stuff. And I thought, people always want to go out and buy stones. I want to have this, I need quartz, I need this, I need that. And sometimes you don't know what exactly you need it for, but it's pretty and you buy it, right? I've done that. Peacock ore, for example, is gorgeous. So I keep that. But so this is, goes along. I mean, you don't have to be pagan to buy it or anything, but, there'll be a stone for Samhain. There'll be a stone, I think it's black onyx. I've already thought that one out. And a stone for each. And then the box will be such that you can add your stones to the little individual places where you have the Sabbath stones. So yeah, I just, something new, something different. And, I just had to bid a fond farewell to the oils and incense for now. But this is something else that's coming up, and it's kind of fun, I think.
That's really interesting because I now have a huge slab of obsidian as well, parked next to the front door.
See?
Because it's very good for protection. So it's a good spot for
bashing burglars over the head with it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would work too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful, but I didn't think it was anything. I mean, it's like, why would my mother have this huge hunk of obsidian? But then I found out that I know where she got it now because she was good friends with the ex-editor of the Tombstone Epitaph, the newspaper in Tombstone. And he was a miner. And there is tons and tons of obsidian in Arizona. So I think Wayne got that on one of his mining expeditions, and I think he gave it to her, and I think that's how it got there.
Like from Bisbee?
I guess, yeah.
Because that's the only, I'm sure there's more than that in mine, but that's the only mine of which I'm actually aware, having taken a tour in there.
Yeah, I don't, I don't know exactly, but I would think that's probably it. I mean, the guy, yes, he lived in Tombstone and, edited the newspaper, but I'm sure as a miner he got around and if that was one of the biggest mines, yeah.
Well,
And
plus it's really close to Tombstone.
there, that too. And when I looked up, Arizona and obsidian, it said, wow, Arizona is well known for its obsidian. So but that was kind of neat being able to put together, because all these years I had this lump of tar, and I thought, Mom, where the heck did you get this? And then two and two together, when Nicholas told me it was obsidian, and then I'm thinking, oh, Wayne was a miner. Yeah, there we go. So it's kind of like it solved itself, the mystery. That was kind of cool.
Well, and talking about the stuff that you get, because you and I have talked about this before about ancestral altars,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm wondering if you are going to also have a book or a section on that.
I could. I could add that. I mean, definitely, because I have stones on I keep my ancestor altar on all year long. Just because I don't think I mean, we're supposed to remember the ancestors on Samhain, on Halloween, but I think if some people only do that once a year, that's not really great. So I keep mine up all the time. And I've got like amethyst, and I've got quartz, raw amethyst and raw quartz on there. And it's a good thing to have on an altar. It's a good thing to have on you, and then I've got a little box in there full of all kinds of stones. And it was interesting because when my dad died, his mom sent me a big suitcase full of his stuff from, World War II, and all kinds of letters and even things that he had when he was a kid. And one of the things that was in this huge suitcase, it looks like somebody's old carpet bag. It's like a 1920s suitcase. It's really very interesting. But there was a box of marbles. And one of them is a cat's eye, and it's really beautiful. Or it looks not like the cat's eye that, we see in the regular marbles. This is kind of neat. So I actually have a couple of marbles on the thing too, because they really do match with the stone. So
Nice.
yeah, but yeah, people should always keep some kind of an altar going, even if it's a tiny little thing, if you're going to remember the ancestors. And stones are very appropriate on there for whatever reason. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should add that to the book. Good thinking, Cece. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, would you consider the Day of the Dead then to be an ancestral Memorial Day,
It is.
as opposed to Halloween, which is kind of a little bit different?
Well, yeah, I mean, in the Mexican culture, the Dia de los Muertos is something that you honor the dead with the sugar skull and all that stuff. So it's just another kind of remembrance, if that's a good way of putting it. But yeah, I mean, we celebrate Halloween, we celebrate Samhain, but there are a lot of people, I think, and you guys can answer this. I mean, when you were younger growing up and stuff, did you ever think of Halloween as being something to do with your ancestors, or did you think about it being the boogeyman and ghosts?
Oh, it's mostly boogeyman and ghosts.
As a kid, that's the way I was raised. Only I was afraid of the ghost year round.
Oh, see, karma got you, didn't it? Now you're chasing them. But yeah, so I think, everybody has a different way of looking at things. Samhain has always been more towards the emotional side, in a sense, about, the ancestors and those that have gone before and what they've done, and, revere them and have a dumb supper and set a place for them. I mean, there isn't really, and maybe Dia de los Muertos kind of does the same thing. I've never really been to a celebration, and except for seeing, the sugar skulls around and the coffins and little things like that. I don't know if they have something like we do, where we really kind of get into the ancestor thing. But I'm sure they, do certain things like that. But in this country, I mean, Halloween, can you think of any other holiday that, okay, Memorial Day remembers war heroes and servicemen,
heroes,
yeah. But what is there? Do we have another holiday particularly to think of our ancestors? I don't can't think of.
Yeah,
that's a really good question.
Thanksgiving.
I don't think of
like
that.
Christmas.
Kind of, but that's not universal.
Yeah, I mean, all right, Thanksgiving is you give thanks for what you have, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're thanking your ancestors, because some people may not.
You may not be
think about
thanking,
that.
but you're at least thinking of them at those times when the
Hopefully.
family members are not there anymore.
Hopefully.
And
But
when I was at my friend's place for Thanksgiving some years ago, they all traditionally take a shot of whiskey or bourbon to honor their late father.
hmm And that's a good tradition. And in my house, Thanksgiving was not about that. I mean, it was, with the people that you were with then and the family, but I don't think anybody ever really talked about those who were missing, except in, it's sad to say, but unless it was someone that passed away during the year.
Well,
they didn't they didn't talk about it.
we do a lot because of, boy, she could really fix Thanksgiving dinner or and stuff like that,
Oh, then it just goes automatically into, you say my turkey's not good, and then it just escalates from there.
He's right. He's right.
Match potato fight. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
It's all fun and games until somebody brings out the fruitcake.
Yeah.
And then you're in trouble.
Uh-oh, I like fruitcake.
Oh. Yeah. Don't tell
Yeah.
Patsy.
Oh, no, I haven't said a word. Didn't hear me say that. Nope.
Tonight we're talking about Halloween. And
Samhain.
what is the real history of Halloween? What did it derive from? How did it get started?
And Jeff, you can jump in on this too, but it goes back about 2,000 years. It's a harvest festival, and the Celts believed that at Samhain time, which is like the third harvest, that was a time that, for some reason, that they believed that ghosts of the dead were able to mingle with the living. It was the souls of those who had died during the year that traveled to the other world at that time, and so they started by lighting bonfires in their honor, and it helped. Now, see, I was reading where it said bonfires were lit in their honor to aid them on their journey. Now, what does that mean? Was that like lighting a fire, or giving somebody a hot foot to get them across? I mean,
I think it's more like as though moving towards the light wasn't easy enough. It's like might be dark before the light.
Well, that's true. I just got the hot foot picture in my head, and I thought that doesn't make sense.
No.
But the bonfires were also lit in their honor, and also they did the bonfires to keep them away from the living, because on Samhain all manners of beings were thought to be out and about, ghosts and fairies and demons, and everything that went bump in the night. So it was a Celtic holiday tradition, harvest thing, and that's kind of where it started. But then it kind of switched over to Halloween, that most people know, when the Christian missionaries attempted to change religious practices of the Celtics. I mean, in the early centuries, way back in the first millennium, before the missionaries, like St. Patrick and stuff, they started converting pagans to Christianity, and
usually not pleasantly.
Right. Yeah, no, it was under duress, but it and the Druids, who were the priests and the poets, and Jeff, you know about this.
Yeah.
They were the religious leaders. They were the ritual specialists. They were the bearers of the learning, and very much the same as the very missionaries and monks who were Christian to try and change the people around. So I'm sure that wasn't exactly a very fun time.
No.
But they wanted the Christians wanted to make a holiday that was similar. That's kind of, if you read up on it, most of the holidays that we share were similar, because they would look at our holidays and make one close to it.
Well, if you look at a Catholic Mass, essentially you're looking at a pagan Mass. Almost everything is mirrored, because they were like, well, if we use their tools like knives and cakes and ale and all sorts of stuff, and we simply say we're referring to Jesus, not a different deity, then people, and of course, my favorite thing they used to do is conscript builders to build churches on pagan meeting grounds. So pagans would show up to do their circle and like, why is there a building here?
Yeah, we don't need no stinking building. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you look at the architecture of some of the earliest churches, you'll see pentacles, Jewish stars, six-pointed stars, and all this little stuff. So like, yeah, we'll put a little few, and I know they didn't have the term Easter eggs at the time, but pretty much that's what they are.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is. I mean, so, that's why it's so common. They just, if you're going to convert somebody, you have to convert them in a way that they recognize what they're being converted to.
Yep.
And that's kind of pretty much what they did. But so that went on for the longest time. But there were lots of pagans who did not convert and would practice, themselves and never let anybody know that they're doing it. And this is kind of how we kept on going in that respect. But it's interesting that how Halloween got to America. All these years later. Let's jump from way back then to about the 1800s. The Irish get a pat on the back for doing that because there were nearly 2 million Irish immigrants that came over here, with the potato famine. And they are the ones that are given credit for helping shape Halloween even into even a more widely celebrated event. Scottish immigrants came too. They celebrated with fireworks and telling ghost stories and playing games and making mischief. And that's where some of the games came from, bobbing for apples and something that I've never heard of, dropping of forks on apples without using your hands or something. I mean, all kinds of different things. So they came over with the immigrants, and even the English, the observation of Guy Fawkes Day on November 5th kind of came to be intertwined with Halloween as well. Anything that's got pranks and mischief is going to catch on.
Guy Fawkes Day was more, obviously that was a week later, and it was almost more astrological Samhain, 15 degree in Scorpio.
Right.
Whereas the 31st, they just sort of like grabbed that the way the churches decided, well, let's try and take December 21st, the winter solstice, and make that into our Christmas, and we'll use the 25th because it has such historical significance, like, battles and stuff like that.
Well, and the church made November 2nd All Souls Day.
Yep.
Yeah.
November 1st, yeah.
1st,
Now, have you ever heard of a film called Lightning Bug? It's a little-known film, which I only saw because Laura Prepon was in it. And I loved her in the 70s show. And she plays a girlfriend of the lead guy whose mother is like Carrie's mother type of proselytizing Christian type of woman. And he goes off to, he wants to go out and celebrate Halloween. He's in his very early 20s or late teens, and she's at one point she literally says, that's based on a pagan holiday, don't you? And he goes, well, yeah, so is Christmas.
Wow. I don't think people know, Easter too. The real big holidays, and because they're around the same time, and they all again fall around the harvest season and the planting and the reaping and the sowing and the whatever. I don't think people realize that so much.
Yeah,
it's not really taught in schools.
Well, Easter.
Well, and we've kind of hijacked holidays too, because although Halloween would have been more of a harvest festival, in the United States at least, now we changed that to a Thanksgiving sort of holiday, which is more harvest related.
Right.
And Halloween takes on a completely kind of different tone, at least in the United States, I think. Maybe Canada has Thanksgiving too.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all in, and Henry was saying the other day, how did Halloween get so commercial and everything? But the interesting thing, okay, here's the question for you all, and you all get a brownie point if you get it. When and where did the first Halloween celebrations take place?
You talking about here in America?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, wasn't there a lady in Kansas who hated the fact that kids were pulling up and tearing up stuff, so she invented a Halloween parade?
That could be, but that's not what I was looking at earlier.
Okay.
There, but I mean, there's always somewhere. But there is, I've never heard of this, but then I'm a West Coaster. There's a town called Anoka, Minnesota, which claims to be the Halloween capital of the world. And it was the first city in America to officially hold a Halloween celebration. And similar to what you just said, Cece, it was done in an effort to divert the kids from pulling pranks like tipping out houses and letting the cows run loose down Main Street. And it said the town organized a parade and spent weeks prior to planning and making costumes and, popcorn and peanuts and candy and all that was going on. And the event grew over time, and it was held every year since 1920. That was the first year it started. And there was only 2 years that they didn't have it, which was 1942 and 1943, when they were canceled because of World War II. But they still hold elaborate festivals with parades and carnivals, costumes and everything. And then it says also that Salem, Massachusetts, associated with witches, due in part to the history. But they said they also laid claim to the title of Halloween capital of the world. And so, and the quote was that many historians quietly back away from that debate, leaving the two cities to duke it out for themselves. I like that.
I fell off. Which two cities?
Salem and Anoka, Minnesota.
Anoka, Minnesota. I'll have to look that up.
Yes, you do, because they since the 1920s they claim to have been the Halloween capital of the world. Yes.
Ah. Well,
that would be Scandinavian.
Anoka, Minnesota, maybe. I guess. Yeah.
Now, I know that there's a new show called Haunted USA, and they did a one of their little documentary episodes on Salem, but it were mostly on the ghosts and the hauntings around there, as well as the occult stores. They didn't mention Laurie Cabot. Is she still with us?
Yeah, she is.
I don't know why they didn't deal with her at all, unless she just didn't want to be bothered with them, or.
I don't know. Some people are afraid of her.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. They should be more afraid of Laurie Bruno.
I don't know who that is.
Laurie Bruno is, she's in Salem. She's a Salem witch. She's an elderly woman, but boy, she got spunk. And I had her on my show. She's a Strega, Italian witch. And you got to be careful with them. And so
my metaphysical teacher was a Strego. So.
Mm-hmm. And so I had her on my show years ago, and we were talking about it, and I was not being tongue-in-cheek, but I was just curious, lighthearted, because I didn't want people to get scared, because she was talking about how they take responsibility for whatever they do. They don't believe in the rule of three. They're willing to pay for, if they make a mistake, they're willing to pay for it. Oh. And I said to her, I said, well, how do you feel when people say that they're kind of afraid of Stregas? And she didn't miss a beat. She just sat there and she said, they should be. Don't. It was great.
Probably a good point.
Yeah, I mean, she's a pistol, but she's really in the in the Salem community. She's very well known in there, and maybe Laurie Cabot just kind of took a back seat for a while. I'm not sure.
Now, Kathy in the chat room wanted to know if that was Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
How many other Salems are there?
There's Salem, Oregon.
Well, she was talking also about Minnesota, and she didn't know if that city there called Salem also. So.
Could be.
Yeah, that's true. Got Springfields all over the place.
Yeah, huh? So, yeah, we do.
And Henry lives in Trenton, Ohio, and I'm from a state its capital is Trenton.
Right.
And it's not Ohio.
It's New Jersey.
Nobody says New Jersey except Brooklynites and people who have speech impediment. Although the witch owning the shop in the Haunted USA episode had such a Boston accent, it was so distracting.
Do you remember her name?
I don't. I can't pull it up because it would. Well, maybe I'll try pulling it up during the break. So.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I know a couple that really do sound very very much like that. And, it's some, if you're in the community and you hear it every day, you don't notice it. But when you're not, it's like, whoa, strong accent. But then people accuse West Coasters of having accents too, and I just don't see that.
I think anybody that has who can vocalize has an accent. It just depends on, from where you are.
True. Yeah.
I think what we'll do is go ahead and, excuse me, something's going to come back up. We're going to go ahead and take a break, a quick one kind of, and when we come back, we are going to be talking about what was Halloween like when you were young. So you can be thinking on that.
That could have been so better phrased, but I'm just saying.
All right. Anyway, Geoffrey's going to take us out, and then I will bring us back, I guess. Jeff, you should be able to hear it if you wanted to bring us back. But that's up to you. No,
Well,
I'll bring us back. You take us out. I'll bring us back.
Okay. Well, you're listening to the Paranormal View on para-x.com with your hosts Henry Foister, Ceiling Cat Barbara Duncan, and myself, Geoffrey Gould, with tonight's always wonderful guest, Marla Brooks. So stay tuned for more of the Paranormal View after the break.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para-X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
Who knows what lurks in the hearts of men?
I thought you were just laughing because it's the first time I heard them saying 2 hosts, 1 hour.
The shadow knows. Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Para-X Radio Network.
That was a recording?
Mysterious voices for some reason. And tonight we have with us Barbara Duncan.
I'm still here.
And we have Geoffrey Gould.
I'm not on mute. I'm muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I've heard you the whole time.
Oh, you just didn't respond.
And we have Marla Brooks with us. And tonight we are talking about Halloween. And before we went to break, we was talking about what was Halloween like when you was a kid? What did you do for Halloween? I know I'm probably a little bit older than most. Halloween was a little bit different back then. I think kids could go out and run around and get candy and stuff a lot more
safely,
freely, you might say, without fear of. And I know that it doesn't happen all the time, but they have the big scare of razor blades and poison and this and that. Back when I was young, we didn't get any of that. Nowadays, they set a time like, from 6 to 7 or something like that, you can trick or treat, and that's it, Back when I was young, when it started to get a little bit dark, you hit the streets. And you wouldn't come back sometimes till 9 o'clock at night. You'd have big old pillowcases stuffed with candy and stuff. So I never had any problems. And usually it was 3 or 4 kids out running at the same time together. Very seldom was the parents with them. So as got up into the years, I know when I would go out with my son, I would be going out with them. They didn't run the streets like I did. So what was it like when you guys went out?
It was still pretty safe back when I was a kid. I mean, we didn't go overly far, but we had, our mom was a costumer, so we always had rather nice, interesting costumes. And, yeah, we would go out and, hit a few blocks and head on home, pretty much.
Same here.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Go out, grab a lot of candy, come back, eat till you get sick. And
Barbara.
although I do have a great Halloween story, and that was when I moved to the East Bay here. There we had a nice entranceway, and there were a couple of trick-or-treaters. One of the little kids had this cat costume on, and it was perfect. It looked like a real cat. And my cats would run to the door every time somebody knocked to yell trick-or-treat. And they looked up, saw this huge cat, and their eyes got really wide. It's like, wow. Biggest kitty I've ever seen. They loved it.
Super kitty.
They weren't frightened. Yeah. Big super kitty. Like a,
like Hermione when the Polyjuice potion didn't work?
Like a 38-inch tall cat.
Oh.
Very cute.
So, how old were you when you moved out to the West Coast?
21.
Well, where'd you live at before?
Iowa.
Iowa. So what was trick-or-treating like in Iowa?
Oh, I told you. You go out, get a lot of candy, come home, eat till you get sick, and that was it.
Did all the kids dress up pretty much? Yeah.
Usually.
We did the stuff. They'd put makeup on, and the big red lips around your face or whatever, and black eye and different things like that. Pretty much most of our costumes were like made with whatever mom could throw together, not go out and spend, I don't know, what does costume run now? $25 or more?
Mm.
I mean, if you go to these stores to buy a costume for a kid, it's not cheap anymore. So, and I suppose Marla just flew around on her broom.
I used to have to find a costume that resembled humans. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. But one year I did dress up as a cat. I did. And I had the ears, and I had the tail, and I had the whiskers, and didn't have any, the tail and the ears were furry. That was it. But I was like 20. And so it was, you put on the leotard and the tights and the ballet shoes, and then you just, throw on your ears and the tail, and that damn tail my mother made it, and it was about 3 feet long, at least, and it was sewed on to the back of the leotard. And every time I turned around, I hit somebody with it. And when I tried to sit down, I'd stand up, and it would bring the chair with it. It was kind of a rigid tail. It was kind of dangerous. Not unlike my cat now, his tail. Whip, 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 whip all the time. Yeah.
Huh.
Kitties. But yeah, it's changed over the years. I think every holiday is pretty much changed now. You don't do a lot of the things, even for the big holidays. Thanksgiving now has become more of a shopping day. Christmas is now more of a shopping day. You don't celebrate the same way.
What?
On any holiday now.
Why do you think that is?
Greed.
I think it has a lot to do with it, because you figure Thanksgiving, Christmas was supposed to be like family holidays when families got together and they'd spend all day together. You don't see that anymore. My son and might come over, him, wife, and the kids. They might be here, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours maybe, eat, and by the time it starts getting dark, they're gone to go home. When I was young, we would probably eat at my mom's, and everybody in the world would come there to eat, so there'd be people in and out all day. Sometimes we'd eat there and then go to another family member's house, and spend time there also. So they just don't do that anymore. I think number one is everybody's too busy, and number two is what you were saying, greed. Oh, let's go get in line at the stores to buy stuff for when? Oh, Christmas. Yeah. So
It's sad.
Now, Kathy in the chat put in a really good comment, and that is families don't live very close together anymore.
and
And Marla, this goes back to your ancestral um, uh, altar, which
Hmm.
is, would, wouldn't that also work for people who are not close by?
Well, yeah. I mean, the altars are what you put into them. I mean, this one's got a label. It's an ancestor altar. You're supposed to remember the ancestors. So I have pictures of ancestors back as far as great grandmother. That's as far as I can get. And then things that belong to them. But an altar, I mean, in general, can be anything you want it to be of any kind of celebration or remembrance or just things that are important to you or something. It's like your little church. And you can put anything on there. But I think I really do think it's important that we not forget the ancestors for a number of reasons. Basically, well, if they weren't there, we wouldn't be here. That's a good one. um, for us, for witches, for people that do the craft, I mean, things have been passed down from generation to generation to generation. That's something that, we thank them for a lot. The old ways, the ancient ways. So, but you can, people, I think I've heard of people that have altars up for family members who were in the service and who passed away. And or just even a military altar for everybody that they knew that was in the service, whether they're still here or not, died in action or not. I think altars are really an important thing, and you don't have to stick them up and make this big shrine out of them. I mean, I've got a shelf of my bookcase. One of the shelves is my altar, partly because the cat can't get to it there. But the other part is that it's just somewhere that it's out of the way, and people probably don't notice it when they walk in necessarily. Um, but see, that's the thing about it. A lot of people, and I'm not going against organized religion at all, but a lot of people think you have to go to church or a synagogue or, a mosque to be able to celebrate your religion or to celebrate things around you. Pagans, we're like turtles. We carry our sacred space and our things on our backs in a sense. We can open a circle of protection. We don't have to go to a church or whatever. And I think the spirituality of this whole thing is really, really important in our daily lives because a lot of people have lost that. We're so busy with the here and now and what's going on in this world and whatever, we don't take the time to think back and it's really comforting to know that you look over at your altar and you see something that belonged to your great grandmother or something, for example. It gives you a spiritual feeling of family, and I think that is kind of missing a lot these days.
That connection to the past, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that makes a good rock band, the Pagan Turtles.
uh,
Just a shell of.
But yeah, I kind of agree, and especially with families that do carry on the tradition through lineage,
Hmm.
because there are a lot of families that do that. You're also going to carry along that power to that thread
Yes.
through the altar, I would believe.
Hmm. You do. And see, this is the other thing. People say, "Oh, I can't do an altar. I don't know how to do an altar. I don't know what." You do it. It kind of you do what you feel. Put up there what you want, whatever's important to you. You want to pray on it, pray on it. If you don't. Some people say that if you put a glass of water on the altar, that attracts the spirits. I mean, there's so many ways to do it, but there's no right or wrong way. But just it's like, all right, you guys, everybody that's listening, have you ever had one of those days that you're just kind of down and kicking the can and everything, and you go to your photo albums and you start looking at family pictures and things when you were little and how that calms you down and how that centers you and it brings you back because you get that feeling, all of a sudden you're 5 years old again, you're looking at pictures of people that you knew back then. Same thing with an altar. It's like, well, for me, I didn't have a lot of pictures because of, losing my house, losing everything in it a long time ago. All my photos were gone except for a very few. And I've been able to, talk to a couple of relatives here and there and fill in. But just having all those pictures there, just looking at them, looking at the grandparents, the great-grandparents, the parents, and also you put your animals, you put your little fur babies. I've got pictures of all of mine that have crossed over. It's just something that calms you down, and it's kind of a wonderful feeling. And it doesn't take but, a little while and a little bit of thought to do it. And if you're really into it, it'll kind of build itself. It'll tell you what should go on the altar, which is kind of neat. But it's just some place that you can go and get that warm, fuzzy feeling that we've lost pretty much these days.
It doesn't have to be super elaborate either, because I'd have a lot of pagan friends that if you didn't recognize what an altar meant, you could easily look at it and not even realize it's an altar.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's personal choice. And, it can be elaborate. It can be nothing. It can be, people look at mine and, okay, so there's a few pentagrams there. They might get the hint. But, and of course, the cauldron, which survived last night because Tim Shaw got me a cute little cauldron, one of those really heavy ones they're heavy like a ball of lead kind of cauldrons, but tiny, goes on the altar. And as I said earlier, I put the altar up to a place where T could not get to it. So I thought, until last night. Because about 4 o'clock in the morning, I heard this god-awful crash. I couldn't even imagine what it was. I have hardwood floors in here. And this thing went bang. And I mean, I sat up and I'm looking around for broken glass or whatever. He's long gone because I'm sure it scared the heck out of him. But it's like on a high shelf. And he somehow managed to paw that thing right off the shelf. That cauldron came crashing down. And I think there's a divot in the floor now. But, so if you have pets, try to keep things away from them. But not all pets are kind of, like Conan the Destroyer like T is. But, yeah, it survived.
That happens.
Sure.
So now when we talk about Halloween and ancestors, the practice wasn't ever to call up the ancestors in that manner on Halloween, correct?
They were, back in the old days, people were running from them. And that's where costumes came from. The original reason that people wore costumes on that night was because people thought that these were the nights where the devils and the whatever came out, and you didn't want to walk outside at night because you might be recognized by them. So people put on costumes if they had to go out at night on Halloween night, Samhain night. So the spirits and the boogeymen and all that would think that they were one of them and wouldn't recognize them and probably grab them off and take them, into the bowels of hell or whatever. So that's just, that was kind of something that I didn't really think about, but people back then were deathly afraid of things that were on the other side because other than, I guess, their ancestors, they thought everything was bad and scary, and it probably was because there were lots of tales like that,
Oh, yeah, I guess.
That's
or if you didn't treat your ancestor well, then
they
would come back.
come back and so put on that clown nose to make sure they don't recognize you, right?
Be in trouble, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the bonfire tradition came too, because the fire was supposed to keep the bad spirits away as well. I would think.
And is that true with the jack-o'-lantern?
Well, the jack-o'-lantern, yeah, it was a kind of protective thing. And, there are different versions of why jack-o'-lanterns came to be and how they came to be. And I think Henry has something that I stole from Steve Shockley today.
Right.
All about the legend of the jack-o'-lantern. And it's kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, we're going to play that in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
actually, and I'm not sure, I read it a while ago, but the one thing, the way it started out was they used to be made out of turnips.
Right.
Would put a burning piece of coal in a turnip to so I guess the spirits or whatever it was could light their way or something like that.
And those turnips were scary.
Oh,
Looking.
Yes.
And that's what it used to be a long time ago, was turnips. And then it comes over to the pumpkin and all that, which we're going to find out about that in a minute. But way back when, what kids used to get for Halloween? And I don't mean back when we was young. It was even earlier than that, when they was actually going out trick-or-treating or having things. They didn't actually get candy because they didn't make the kind of candy that we have today. So what kind of things were they getting, like, for Halloween?
Soul cakes. I mean, trick-or-treating comes from people going a-souling, and it's citizens. It started in a bad way. I mean, poor people would beg for food, and families would give them pastries called soul cakes, and in return for their promise, or they got it in return for the promise to pray for the family's dead relatives. And interestingly enough, the distribution of soul cakes was encouraged by the church as a way to replace the ancient practice of leaving food or wine for the roaming spirits. So there's a really neat song. I don't know if we could have played it, but called "Going a-Souling," and it's really neat. But that tradition of begging for food, going to the door, knocking to the door, eventually turned around to kids who would visit the houses in their neighborhood and be given ale and food and, a little bit of money here and there. So that's what they were after at that point, early on.
So are those soul cakes very similar to the ingestion of food for around funerals, like sin eating?
I don't know. Probably. I mean, people cook very much more simple than we do back then anyway. So I'm guessing they were just kind of like little round hockey pucky kind of things. And it was nutrition. I mean, when you're starving, a little hockey puck, a little piece of dough is going to fill you up, which is kind of nice. But it went from the soul cakes to the kids who then got little money. And then I guess because when I was a kid, way back when, people were still giving kids pennies for trick or treat. Nobody ever gave nickels or dimes, but lots of people would throw pennies in our bags. We thought that was.
I was just interested, the soul cake part.
Yeah.
Was that the soul of a person?
That's the way it's spelled, yeah. But maybe it had to do with the soul of, maybe giving was from the soul too. I'm not sure about that, but that would be something interesting to look up. Why they call them soul cakes with SOUL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, I heard it said something else, SOL. Is that the way you say? No, no, it's not it. Okay. All right. Kids, I guess nowadays, though, they go to the store and everybody buys $40 worth of candy because the price of candy has gone skyrocket because of commercialism.
It's crazy.
It is. And when kids come, do you guys pass out candy and stuff, or what do you pass out?
Candy.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of trick-or-treaters?
Yeah. Not as much. I mean, when we were kids, as you said, it was like sardine cans trying to walk down the street. But
yeah.
It depends on the neighborhood. I mean, when I was in Hollywood, we didn't have so many because I think people were kind of afraid to go out at night and whatever. But now that I'm in the suburbs, we see quite a few out. But again, like you said, it's not the same. You know, they go out just at the crack of the sun going down, and maybe, you know, 7:30 they're through. When we were out, like you said, you're out till 9, 10 o'clock. We were too.
Yeah.
We didn't go out until 7 or 8. You know, we went out at the time that kids are now coming back in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the neighborhoods has a lot to do with that.
It does. Yeah, it does.
The first year that we lived here, I bet we didn't get 2 kids come by our house because the area wasn't completely built up yet. The older homes going to the west of us, new homes back behind us, but nothing going down the road the east from us. And so most of the kids that was down to the west, that's where they were trick-or-treating at. They hardly would ever come on down to our street because there wasn't but 1 or 2 new houses down through here. So we didn't get hardly anybody. And then for a long time, they started building it up, and we would get a few here and there. I think last year and the year before, we had probably the most that we've had. So I'm expecting probably a lot of kids come by this year. And I think the weather also plays a big part in it, whether it's rainy or real cold. So that really has a lot to do with it.
Well, I know some people that won't open the door because they're afraid the gang members are going to come to the door, you know, or, you know, we used to be worried about getting egged or TP'd, you know, and now people worry about getting robbed and hurt. And so a lot of people won't open the door in certain neighborhoods because they're just afraid of who might be on the other side, and it's not going to be the ghost that they're afraid of.
Say it's not going to be the ghost?
No, it's going to be a human being that they're afraid of. And, you know, for us to get to this point in this country, to be afraid to open the door on Halloween for kids because you're afraid that somebody's going to come in and beat the heck out of you or rob you or whatever, that's really some pretty sad commentary. But it.
Oh, yeah, well, it's the same as paranormal investigation. I'm more afraid of the living.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There you go.
Yeah,
dead, absolutely.
So.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. Jeff's still having problems getting back on. He'll get on for maybe 2 seconds and then drops right back off. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, and hopefully that maybe he'll be back. And then we'll play the commercial, or not commercial, but the thing that Shockley has got for us about the history of the pumpkin when we come back. With that being said, and Jeff's not here, not Marla, Barbara gets to take us out. How's that sound?
I can do that.
Okay.
Folks, you're listening to the Paranormal View here on ParaX Radio and our Halloween Spooktacular with our very special guest, Marla Brooks. We will be right back after a few messages.
ParaX Radio, programming for the open mind.
And welcome, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be with us tonight, and I hope everybody's having a good time. Jeff, it still shows him coming on to Skype, but it doesn't show him as being connected. So with that, we will continue on, and I want to thank everybody for being here. We have with us, I hope, Barbara Duncan.
Yep.
And we have Marla Brooks.
I'm still here too.
And we have thousands upon thousands listening from around the world. Is that right, Barbara?
From around the world and into the afterlife. In Germany, the United States, Canada, England, and our little unknown friend.
Well, that's from around the world, I'd say.
Yes, it is.
That's pretty good. So, as we were saying before we took a break, we do have a thing we're going to be play here, and it was from Steve Shockley. He recorded it for us. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and maybe Jeff will get back in time. So listen up to this.
The story of the jack-o'-lantern. The origins of the Halloween jack-o'-lantern was based on the Irish legend of Jack, a mean farmer who drank too much. One Halloween night, Jack got so drunk that he felt his soul slide right out of his body. The devil immediately appeared to claim it. Upon seeing the devil standing there, Jack begged the devil to have one last drink with him. The devil agreed, but said that Jack would have to pay for the drinks. Jack only had 6 pennies in his pocket, but needed one more, so he suggested that the devil, who could take any shape, turn himself into another penny to pay for the drinks. And then after the drinks were bought, he could turn himself back and enjoy a final drink with Jack. The devil agreed, and faster than you can say Beelzebub, the greedy devil turned himself into a shiny coin. Jack snatched up the coin and put it in his wallet, which had a cross-shaped clasp, trapping the devil inside. Jack then told the devil that if he would leave him alone for another year, he would release him, and the devil agreed. Jack at first tried to change his ways, but soon lapsed back into his bad habits. The next Halloween, Jack thought he was safe from the devil until he was returning home from the pub. The devil, as promised, appeared before him to collect his soul. Jack knew that he had to quickly devise another trick to save his soul, so he pointed to a nearby apple tree and asked the devil if he'd like one. The devil was once again happy to accept Jack's offer. Jack suggested to the devil that he climb up on his shoulders to pick one. The devil hopped up on Jack's back and up onto his shoulders, then made a leap to a nearby branch. The minute he hopped onto the branch to pick the juicy apple, Jack carved a cross into the tree. The devil screamed to be set free. He said if Jack would let him climb down from the tree, he wouldn't bother him for 10 years. Jack said he would let him down only if the devil promised to never bother him again. The devil agreed. Before the next Halloween rolled around, Jack died. When he tried to enter the gates of heaven, he wasn't allowed because he hadn't lived a clean life. He had no other choice but to venture down to the gates of hell, but he was denied entrance there as well. The devil reminded Jack of his promise to never bother him again, then threw Jack a lit piece of coal so he could see his way in the darkness. Jack placed the burning ember in a carved-out turnip to use as a lantern to guide him on his eternal earthly trek. Over time, the lit turnip evolved into the candle-lit pumpkins we now call jack-o'-lanterns that help light our way on those dark and spooky Halloween nights.
Right, now you know the history of the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern. So, I guess everybody's back with me. I haven't lost everybody yet.
Mm-mm.
Well, having never made a pumpkin pie from scratch, wasn't it just a good way to get rid of the pumpkin exterior?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you use the insides to make the pumpkin, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I actually did that once, and it wasn't bad.
Was it
Surprise,
bad?
surprise. Yeah, but a lot of work.
Well, did you use all the seeds too, or did you throw them away?
I tried to roast them, but I didn't do a very good job, so they did get tossed. But see, to me, all right, we all have childhood memories, childhood smells and everything. For me, it was if you carve open a pumpkin, that aroma that comes out of there with the seeds and everything, I don't know why, but that just kind of makes me smile. It always did. And it's really kind of slimy to dig them out and stuff, but I love the smell of a fresh pumpkin inside for some reason.
Well, I don't know. Do you eat pumpkin pie for Halloween, or do you do that more for Thanksgiving?
That's more for Thanksgiving, maybe, but it is the pumpkin season because once all the stores start having pumpkin lattes and pumpkin muffins and pumpkin donuts, I mean, it's you can't get away from pumpkins now.
So, Jeff, are you back?
I am currently back. I am trying something sneaky. I actually was downtown the other day and was offered a free phone with free service, and I'm trying to put it on the other phone So I'm trying to add you on Skype there and see if I get kicked off on my desktop Skype. Maybe you can call me in on my phone Skype.
Oh, well, if you're on Skype, then I should be able to do that.
You should. Let me see if I'm trying to add to chat. It's kind of weirdly different than...
As
he disappears.
Oh, no.
He's still on. Yeah.
I can hear you.
Now, speaking of Halloween back when we was all younger was a lot different than what it is today. I think mostly back when we were young, it was mainly for the kids. Younger kids would be going to parties and stuff like that. And let's see here. What does that say? Would like to add you on Skype. Yeah, okay, all right. I'm accepted. You're accepted on Skype. So,
yay.
With that, now, so nowadays, it has been commercialized so much that it's not just for the younger kids. There is more grown-ups having parties and it's costume parties, not just a drinking Halloween party, but everybody dresses up for it. So, do you guys go out to any of the Halloween parties?
I haven't been in a long, long time.
I don't get invited.
Really?
Here we are, sticks in the mud.
No, we're not sticks in the mud.
We have a local cemetery that has a Halloween party. And what they do is they have a little pumpkin patch for kids. And then the kids go down the block where there's a lot of stores. They do their trick-or-treating there. And then they come back to the pumpkin patch, and there's bouncy houses and whatever. The cemetery is more like a park than it is a cemetery. And sometimes the cemetery also holds events like plays. They do Spoon River Anthology, which is a story of the dead, telling about how they died. Yeah. It was kind of fun.
Wow.
Not so much a party, but but kind of.
Well, not commercialized, of course.
No.
Everybody wanted to stick their fingers into the pie.
Ew.
So they sell billions of dollars worth of candy, but it's not just candy anymore. They sell all kinds of decorations for Halloween. They'll be selling decorations also for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But they do sell a lot of where people dresses their houses up and shining lights outside and just all sorts of different things. Some of the biggest items they've been out for a while, but they're even really out this year that I've noticed, is the animatronics. And you can get them in a lot of different places. I know Marla out there went to a place and she even posted stuff online. It was
Spirit store, yeah.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, next thing I know, they've got one down the road from us, Spirit Health. Matter of fact, they got two, one down the road and one north of us.
Yeah.
So we had to go there and look, and they have all these kinds of the animatronics and everything. And they do also have a very hefty price on all these things, too.
They are, but you know what? They are, but they aren't. I mean, some of those real big ones, they're under $200. Now, that sounds like a lot, you know, and if you have $200 to burn and you can spend it on that, more power to you. But think about it, maybe 10, 15 years ago, those things would have sold for maybe $2,000. You know, I mean, they're not so bad that you can't afford them. But still, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of money. But I don't know, some of them are adorable. But the thing is, I looked at, you know, the ones that I looked at, they were good. They were kind of cute. I was really fond of the gargoyles. And I didn't take any videos of those because I love the animated door knockers with the gargoyles on it and stuff. I'm kind of a gargoyle person. But there were some that were really good, and then some of them, they didn't do anything except their heads moved back and forth, and the voice recorder was in them and they were talking. It wasn't like they were going, and scaring you. The only thing that really scared me was a jumping spider. And I was going to take a picture of that. I don't know if I remember if I did that on Facebook or not, but long story short, Tim Shaw hates spiders of any kind. Hates them. Can't look at them. I sent him a picture of one without knowing that he didn't like spiders on Skype one day. We were talking and he cursed me out for a week. He was he literally jumped out of his chair just because I sent a picture. So, of course, I go to the spirit store and I see the spider. I thought, there's a thing to step on. I didn't know what it did. I didn't really read the sign. So I turn on the thing and I'm going, hey, Tim, this is for you, right? And I've got my camera rolling and I step on that thing and that sucker jumped up. And I jumped back like something smacked me in the head. I mean, it scared the bejesus out of me. So, because I didn't expect it. And then I looked at the sign. It said, jumping spider. And I went, oh, duh. Yeah, but, I mean, a lot of those just aren't scary. They're big and they make a lot of noise. But, they're not like things that would have really scared me as a kid even, because they just didn't look good. There was one tree that was kind of like the Wizard of Oz kind of tree. It was talking.
Yeah.
The throwing apple tree.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. But the big clowns and they had this little girl on a swing that was so funny because she was good. You didn't see you didn't see her face, and she's swinging and swinging, and she's saying, I love things that hate you or something. I mean, it was really well done. It was a good poem. But some of those things are cute, but some of them are just like silly. They're not worth the money, I think.
And then they have Ouija board tablecloths, which I have to go get this
There
weekend,
you go.
so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, we found some, and I believe it was at the Spirit Halloween store. We found some shot glasses with the Ouija board and all that stuff on them. And Patsy got those and sent them to Tim. So he got all that stuff. We also found not just at the Spirit Halloween store, but Menards had a bunch of those animatronics, and we went into Home Depot, I don't know, a few days back, and got to looking around in there at their Halloween stuff, and they had some gigantic dinosaurs. You'd push a button and they'd start moving and roaring and talking or just making noises. They had it was a skeleton. It was just a skeleton of a dinosaur, and the other one was a skeleton of a horse. It did the same thing. But they had tons of those different type scary animatronics.
It's so amazing how things they're taking the simplest thing and turning it into something that's very cute, and it doesn't, like Kat said in the chat room, the Dollar Tree has some cool stuff. I've gotten a lot of decorations at the dollar store because they don't look cheap or anything. But I don't know, I guess they're seconds or whatever. But I got this when I was at Spirit Store. A friend of mine snuck away and got me this little gargoyle, but he's plastic, he's like a squeezy gargoyle. And I thought, oh, this is really cute. And I squeezed him, but that little thing, its eyes light up, and it says all kinds of things at you. Wait a minute, let me see. See if you can hear this.
I was going to try it now.
I am going to try it, yeah.
You are.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's a squeezy thing. It's not made of cheap plastic. Or something solid. You squeeze it like, you squeeze his belly, and now it comes these sounds. And it's so cute because it wasn't. It was cheap to get. Spirit Store, had a lot of things like that are kind of just neat. This guy's sitting on the shelf with my other gargoyles, but he's the only one that his eyes light up red and he can talk. I love little things like that. Very cute.
He's like a gargoyle Rudolph.
Gargoyle.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah.
Have you got a Target store out west?
Sure.
we was in there, and they had tons of these things also. We got a thing for the grandkids, and I even posted it online and pushed a button, and you could hear it say things. But it's like a doorbell, and you put it on your door. You can't do it on the outside, you do it on the inside. But you push the button, and it opens up this one big eye, starts looking around, and it starts saying all kinds of things. I mean, weird. I mean, it's just being online and showing it to them. The youngest one was hollering, oh, I want that put on my door. So we took it out there the other day, and after they actually started playing it, I don't think he was wanting to put it on his door anymore. If you're in bed and all of a sudden you hear that thing go off at night, you're done for.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was scary too, boy. So we thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, you can buy all kinds of different things like that. So
it's very, very good to set the atmosphere. And while I mentioned the dollar store, I just remembered something. I've got this contest going, and I was at the dollar store, and I found this like skeleton. He's wearing a Clint Eastwood hat, kind of, the old-fashioned hat, and a cape, and he's a skeleton. And I brought him home, and I stuck him on my door, and on the outside of the door. And then, I said, well, I've got to have some fun with this guy. So I was taking pictures and posting him on Facebook, him in different positions. He went out in the backyard to where I have my table with the plants on it, and I've got little gnomes there. And last year I got a little Transylvania gnome. I've got this whole family of really cute gnomes, and then there's one with this orange hat, and he's a skeleton, really cute. So I take this guy out there, and I pose him with them, and then I go hang him on a tree. I mean, I'm just having fun with him. But I realized that I didn't have a name for this, and so I kept referring to him as my new doorman, the guy that's keeping all the boogeties out of here. So I decided to have a contest, and it's still time to enter it. The doorman needs a name. I mean, he's getting kind of mad at me just calling him the doorman or the new doorman. That's not very respectful. So if anybody's interested, you can go over to my website, which is www.marlabrooks.com. and click on the News and Events tab, and you'll see a picture, or a couple, 3 pictures of the doorman, and it's a contest to name the doorman, and it's going to be a random drawing. I'll do it on Skype Live sometime next week. And the prize, there actually is a prize. Some people might not think it's a prize, but I think it's a prize. Yeah. I've got a box set of my Ghosts of Hollywood books, 1, 2, and 3, and also a paperback of The Bad Case of the Collywobbles. So it's a 4-book deal if you want to win that. Just go, like I said, go to my website, click on the News and Events tab, and everything is going to go into a big cauldron or a big pumpkin, whatever what, and we'll just do a random drawing, and whoever gets pulled, that's what the name is going to be for the doorman, and they will get the books. So shameless plug.
Doorman, huh?
You have to go look at him because, it has to be a name befitting of something of his caliber. But it's really funny because every time I take a picture of him, it looks like he changes expression. It's so weird. It's just the way he's turning and the lighting and stuff. But one picture, his eyes were just right there, and then you don't see his eyes are sunken. And then the next time he looks like he's smiling. And then his clothes change color when he's out in the sun. I mean, it's, so I think he's taken a life on it of his own. Yeah, I think he's really out there working to keep the boogeyman away or something. Yeah.
Keep him away, huh?
Yeah. So he'll be rewarded with a name sometime by the end of the week. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the animatronics and the haunted houses that are coming up, and how that impacts Halloween. I mean, I assume that the original intent of, the original aura around Halloween was people were scared to go out at night because the ancestors were going to get them. So people are kind of taking that into a new tradition of these haunted houses. Some of them are full-on contact haunted houses.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of those?
I don't like. I mean, stuff scares me anyway, but somebody wrapping me or whatever, I'd be cold cocking somebody or picking the first stick up I had and be swinging it.
Yeah, I'm afraid of those too. I don't like anything that can jump out at me. I mean, I don't like things that jump, period. I've got a grasshopper on my plants back there, and I walk around him because he's as big as my hand. I don't like jumpy things. And grasshoppers, if that's bad enough, somebody dressed in a scary thing that's standing there looking like he's dead and then jumps out, no. Mm-mm.
Now, can you hear me at all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you're aware of this, Marla, but last year around this time, I was part of a live immersive theater called The Tension Experience.
Yes, I was reading that, yeah.
And you probably really would have enjoyed that because it was just really suspenseful and psychological horror and nothing really some intrusiveness, but it was all consensual. I mean, there were ways you were able to, opt out if people, and we did have people who were so freaked out that they would, what we called coward out, because safe word, literally they had a safe word called coward. And one night during the climax, we'd have like our 13 people in our show, and I'd go to the climax scene, and I'm like, why does it look like there's only 4 people, only 4 participants here? And our leading lady gets on the microphone to do her speech, and she's able to, improv a little bit, but 99% of the time it's all her lines. Like said, 5 of you cowarded out. I'm like, oh my God, we really. And our writer-director, Darren Bozeman, who directed Saw 2, 3, and 4, that just tickled him pink. He just loved when people were so freaked out by what was all theatrics, was just too much for people to handle.
Well, things in the mind are a lot scarier than things that you can see.
Yeah.
You get into somebody's head and you can freak them out really badly, so that would work that way.
So probably the longevity of something like Halloween is the fact that people really do like to get scared deep down.
I think so, in some ways, sure.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline, yeah.
The endorphins and all that.
That's true.
The whole part of the unknown.
Well, plus horror films are relatively safe. Yes, you allow yourself to be immersed in the cinema, in the film and the story, but it's all actors, and it's something that you can go home and you can only bring home what you think in your head.
And that's why I never watch them.
Oh, they're so much fun.
All right. Speaking of it's Halloween, a lot of people year-round likes those slash and cut up and horror type movies. See how many they can kill in a night.
Yep. You can watch a season of 24. Oh, wait.
Well, no. But to me, at Halloween time, sitting around at night watching black and white movies like Boris Karloff and Frankenstein, The Mummy,
the real one,
Lugosi and Dracula, Lon Chaney, The Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Those kind of movies were, to me, Halloween movies. This other stuff, Freddy Krueger, how many can I slice up? And, I'll come back next year as Freddy 2, and it just, to me, those are just not, to me, they're not good movies. They may be good movies, but not to me. I just never cared for those kind. So, but that's me. I don't like anything that scares me.
How about horror films that are funny?
Like?
American Werewolf in London, Trick or Treat.
Yeah. Dracula, Dead and Loving.
Yeah.
Twice Bitten.
Twice Bitten.
I like Toast anyway.
Now, Patsy's watched all those, and she liked all of them. I just never cared for them.
Has she seen? You should find out. I'm lucky I'm still on Skype, but has she ever seen the movie Trick or Treat?
That I have no idea.
That is the epitome of Halloween movies now. that Sam, little Sam in that film, is now literally the iconic Halloween mascot for films. Have you seen that, Marla?
Mm-mm. No.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I don't know if it's on Netflix because Netflix is getting really weird, and it's like, oh, why should we show movies when we have original content? I'm like, because you're supposed to have movies. But Trick or Treat, I'll send you the link to it.
Okay.
It's done. It's an anthology film, similar in both style and humor of Creepshow, the film back in the '80s with Stephen King stuff. That kind of, and it's all happens in one night, but they're overlapping stories. So stuff is happening within, the same time frames. So if you notice at the transition, you'll suddenly see like an overlap of time, and you'll see characters from a different vignette in other stuff. So it overlaps pretty well.
Okay.
And it's got Anna Paquin and a lot of other name actors you recognize. Brian Cox is in it. And when they asked him to do it, he says, as long as you can make me up to look like John Carpenter. And they did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, Marla,
yes.
Do you think the veil, as it's called, that ghosts are a lot more prevalent during the Halloween season? Or is it just that we tend to look for them more? Or is the veil thin enough where they are seen more?
Well, I don't know where the thing came about the veil being thinner, but I think it's not something physical. I mean, I think the veil is the way it is all year round. But as you know, when you get into ghosty stuff, you open doors, you open portals, you open yourself to it more. And I think more people now are actually more aware of it too. So I don't think that the veil is necessarily thinner this time of year, but I think because we're attuned to it, we're looking for it, I think that's where it comes from, that anybody can come through. Because, they're in the old days, they were worried about fairies and gnomes and trolls and whatever coming through. They could do the same right now, as far as I believe. I don't think there's any doorkeeper that's saying, okay, well, no, you better wait till Halloween, you better wait till Samhain, because, you just, no, I think it's always like that, but I think we're more aware this time of year, and when you're aware, your senses get heightened, and even people who don't think that they have any abilities at all, or, can't see anything like that, they might, because they're just more sensitive to it mentally.
Say a mic, huh?
Do you think that it's sort of a which came first, the ghost or the ghost hunting shows? That we've always had the same amount of hauntings, but just more aware since like ghost hunting shows came out.
Yeah, of course. The media just, people live on TV, and they live. I don't remember when they started coming out. Was it around Halloween and then it just caught on or something? I don't know. I don't remember, because the first one that I saw was Most Haunted, the British one. And that was before we had any of our own. And of course, the Brits have always been into it more than we have anyway. But certainly, when something's on TV, people jump at it because write a book, and I'm just using odd numbers. Write a book and 1,000 people will read it. Put it on TV and 1 million people will see it. And that's probably why it got so popular.
Yeah. Back before I started doing anything, if I walked by a place and it even looked like it might be haunted, I was on the other side of the street. You couldn't drag me into a place. Anybody talk about, say, oh, that place is haunted or got something in it, you couldn't make me go in there. So I'll go in, but either Cat or somebody else is going first.
I think like using Cat Clerk as a human shield.
Shame on you, Henry. Shame.
Now, oh, by the way, Marla, I'm starring in a movie next year, which is going to be filming Ann Mansfield at the Reformatory.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm gonna be able to finally investigate there.
Oh, perfect. That's great.
Have they got a date set for that yet?
They do not.
Okay. Let me know when, and I'll see about when I be able to drive up there and see.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll be telling, like, everybody, have to set aside a night or something to...
Okay, I got a question here from the chat room from Tabby. She said, ask Marla, what is the significance of lighting a candle or light on All Hallows Eve?
I've read a couple of different reasons why you do that. One of them was having to do with, like what I mentioned about the bonfire before, that you light a light and it'll keep them away. Other people have said you light it because it'll bring them in. Because you want, they were doing it to do it for their ancestors, the ones that they wanted to come in. So here I am, it's maybe they forgot the address. So I think I don't know, it went both ways in the stuff that I was reading. I was reading about it today, as a matter of fact. So one was to keep them away and one was to let them in while you would lit the light. And I'm sure there's about 6 other better reasons than that I just haven't found yet.
Well, candles would have also been used for scrying at that one point, right?
Yeah, true.
With the candle wax.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you're supposed to peel an apple all in one
strip,
one movement, yeah, and then throw it over your shoulder, and the letter was supposed to be who you were going to marry.
Either that or see whether or not you hit the cat.
Yeah, mine would throw it back or try to strangle me with it. But that was the other thing, divination. Very many divination methods were done back then with, like you said, with the apple thing. Bobbing for apples was some kind of weird thing. But there were different ways. You would take something, I don't remember what it was, but you put it under your pillow on Halloween night, and you would dream of who you were going to marry, kind of thing. It was very much concentric to your love life and your future, and you're going to live happily ever after, and who is going to come into your life, what's his initial,
So was divination tied to Halloween strictly for the reason that they thought divination was contacting the dead for answers?
I think so. I think there's always been like soothsayers and fortune tellers. I mean, you go back into history, probably to the cavemen, and somebody was doing hieroglyphics on the wall, which was divination. So there's always been that. And with this time of year and people thinking about the dead and everything, I think it kind of went hand in hand in a sense. But back then, I mean, the divination was probably much more simple than what we have now. I mean, of course it is, but I like the old ways. I like automatic writing, for one. I mean, that's been around for 1,000 years, or scrying in a mirror, or scrying in a glass and looking at the water in the glass. I'm not very good at scrying, but there's so many different forms. I think people wanted to try and get a hold of their relatives. How are you? Just like, they go to a medium now to find out.
My teacher, my divination, my metaphysics teacher, Vinny, used to define necromancy as annoying the dead to ask them really stupid questions.
Well, yeah, that could be very true.
So what is was it a dark mirror or black mirror?
A scrying mirror, yeah.
That's used for scrying. And what, are you supposed to see stuff in that when you ask questions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes you don't ask questions. I mean, even a crystal ball, you're not necessarily going to ask a question. You're just going to look and see what visions come to you. And like I said, I'm not good at it. Tim Shaw made me a scrying mirror, a little black mirror, a long time ago. And try as I may, it's just like trying to get an EVP. Ain't happening. I can't get an EVP, and I can't see anything in the scrying mirror. Yeah.
You haven't yet. It's not that you can't. It's that you haven't yet.
Well,
That's like
that's
people
true.
who drive me crazy saying there's no such thing as ghosts. I'm like, no, what you're saying is you haven't had a paranormal experience yet.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Jeff. I keep hoping, but after a while, it's like, well, okay, well, if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, that's the way it's going to go.
I don't know how
But
many hours of raw footage I'd
Um,
gone through before I finally got my EVP on the Queen Mary.
well, that's good.
oh, that nice big piece of polished obsidian also acts as a very nice screen.
Yes, it does. Yeah, because it is bright and shiny and big enough that yeah, I should do that. I should try.
Is it spherical or jagged or?
It's raw. I mean, it's not polished at all. It looks like, so if you just took some tar that was just ready to mold and you could kind of squeeze it and move it around. It's got sharp things on it. It's got no rounded corners. I mean, it's
sort of like an obsidian version of quartz that's just opaque.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. It's nice. But I mean, polished stones are really nice, but there's a beauty to the raw stones too sometimes.
So do you have to use a saying to make it work, or are you just thinking look at it?
Incantation, do you mean?
Yeah.
For scrying, I don't think I would do that. It's more like a meditation than an incantation. You have to just kind of meditate on it and concentrate on it. I wouldn't do this hocus pocus dominokus, hey, whoever's in there, the Rocky and Bullwinkle thing. I wouldn't have them, because you never know what's going to come up.
On the wall, no, I wouldn't do anything like that. No.
And basically, people think that you're going to see something like in The Wizard of Oz. You see when you look in her crystal ball, she sees Dorothy in the poppy patch or whatever. When you're scrying like this, a lot of times it's more symbolism that you see. Like reading tea leaves. When you empty the cup and you dump the thing, you look to see what the tea leaves look like. It's not that they're animated, they're going to, turn into Gumby or something and wave at you. So I think that's the same thing with scrying. Maybe some people do see things, but I think I was taught that it was more symbolism than actually seeing something.
Plus, the seeing is more.
Oh, and speaking,
I was going to say
hocus pocus here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say mostly it's for focus. Almost all pagan and Wiccan tools are to focus the mind, as opposed to being physical things that have like powers themselves.
Exactly. That's what a wand is. It's a focal point, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of hocus pocus, the big question is does magic done on Halloween more effective or stronger?
It's different kinds of magic. So I think all magic works best by intention. So I don't think that it's necessarily Halloween that makes the magic better. I think it's the person's frame of mind and their desire to make things happen. But that it's the same as any time of year. It's just magic is associated with Halloween, so people are thinking, yeah, this is how it works. But lots of the magic that is performed, they do a lot of protection spells because people are afraid. But you also do spells to communicate with the other side. You're sending out blessings. You do all kinds of different. I mean, every Sabbath has certain spells attached to it, and that just gave me an idea. I might put that in my stones thing too. Good thinking. That's 2 IOU, Cece. But yeah, I don't think it's any stronger, but I think people are more into it at that point, which makes it work better.
Now,
do you think that the help of an ancestor on the other side, or the ghost on the other side, if you talk to them about whatever spell you're doing, might enhance?
I think it could.
A spell?
Yeah, I think it could.
Although generally you're evoking the deities as well, though, which is
both.
Now,
well, I don't know. I don't always evoke deities for spell work necessarily. It depends on what it is. But if I'm doing a simple spell like on my tarot deck, I mean my
Oracle deck.
Oracle deck. Thank you. I just the incantations we're not calling on anybody. It's just an incantation to enhance the card. So there's no particular deities mentioned, but a lot of people, of course, do. It just depends.
Now, I know way back in the early 20s and 30s that in Kentucky, you would have traveling salesmen go around, and because they didn't have a lot of hotels and they'd be out traveling old back roads, when night come, they'd stop at houses to see if they could put them up for the night. And a lot of these guys did things that you could say, like raising the table, making it knock, whatever, and things like that. Now, they used some kind of a saying or something to do it. Now, my grandma said that one come through, and she was like 15 years old, and there was a bunch of them there, you know, in the house, and the guy was going to make the table talk, and he took my grandma and set her up on the table, and he said, table, I want you to rise and knock one time for every year old she is. And it rose up, knocked 15 times, and her sitting on the table. And he said, table, I want you to rise and knock one time for every year it is until this girl gets married. And it rose up and knocked one time. And by the time she was 16, she was married. She used to tell us that all the time. Now, how do they get something like that to work? Is it a spell incantation that they do, or
no?
Because I also used to tell me
Let's put it this way. The guy should have gone on Penn and Teller.
Well, see, I don't necessarily. I mean, that stuff works. You have to believe in it. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that other people don't believe in that we believe in. So, such as ghosts. But these guys would do this much in different places that people couldn't stay in houses sometimes because the walls would start knocking.
That's better than the walls bleeding, I guess.
Well, I'm just, you know, that's all these old tales that they had down there. But what my grandma told me was true, that happened to her. I've seen Tim doing the table tipping. And believe you me, I was looking every which way to make sure nobody was making it jump up and down or hands under it or anything. And they wasn't. They had to get up out of their chairs, and that table was moving around the floor. And
I saw the video. That was kind of cool.
I do have the video of it, yes. So that did happen. And that was right over here, the first investigation I was ever on with all them people. So you better believe I was looking at that just because of the tales that I'd heard my grandma and them tell me from being down there. That's why I won't go down there to any place and then back up in them hollers to old places in Kentucky. Couldn't
That's the place I would go, the first place.
Yeah. It might be, but not me.
I mean, that's like when I was investigating a Masonic lodge in Pasadena with some friends. We had just left one room and got into the main auditorium, and while we were all standing there, we were the only people in the building. There was this loud noise in the room we had just left, and about most of us, I certainly turned towards it, and the leader of the group almost, you know, lost it in his pants, saying, "Did you hear that?" You know, and he already saw me turning, saying, "You heard that, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I just headed right for it. He just could not understand why I was going in the direction of the noise as opposed to, like, elsewhere.
Well, you have to go check that stuff out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Okay, one final thing. What one movie says Halloween?
Trick or treat.
House on Haunted Hill.
Which version? The Vince Price?
The original one, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have to put my vote in for Hocus Pocus.
Well, that too.
Yeah. Hocus Pocus. Good Halloween movie.
Yep.
Our time is, you know, like running right on by. We got about 5 minutes. If Is there anything you guys want to shout out about here for the last minute or two?
What do you think of Jodie Whittaker, Marla?
What should I be thinking? I think I'm out of that loop.
She's the next Doctor.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right. I'm more into classic things, and I'm not going to say she's going to be a bad Doctor. I mean, I wasn't too sure about the last one. He was an old man, right? But
so are the classic ones.
I don't know, but I just think that right now, and I'll change my opinion, I'm sure, but right now I would prefer Doctor Who to be a man.
As would I. I was concerned with a female only because I was worried about the concept of a Dr. Pulaski from the second season of The Next Generation, where she was cantankerous and it didn't work the way they wanted, or the way any of the fans wanted. But Jodie Whittaker was in Broadchurch, and she is a fantastic actress. So
she is. Yeah,
so I'm giving her huge benefit of the doubt. I'm pretty sure she'll do good.
And the companion will be a guy, so it'll still be, mix and match. So I'm just more into classical things. No, what? You're not? But yeah, I'll change my mind, I'm sure.
Well, I will admit, when they did the reveal and they showed her eye and I realized female, I literally screamed no. And because she was short-haired blonde, I didn't recognize her as Jodie Whittaker because I was used to her long, dark hair. Right. And then when I looked her up, I'm like, oh, okay, well, good. All right, I know she can act because I've seen Broadchurch and she's wonderful. So, yeah, she'll – and, of course, it's also up to the scripts.
Right.
So Chris Chibnall knows what he's doing. He's written some good episodes I've liked. Some other commenters haven't liked them, and I'm like, why?
Well, we're going to have to get used to it because it's all new writing staff, I mean, new Doctor, new writing staff, and should be interesting.
Hopefully means we'll eventually get another season of Sherlock, too.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be good.
Well, Marla, I want to thank you for coming on such short notice to talk with us tonight.
Well, you're very, very welcome, and thank you for asking me.
Of course, I always do, and usually you say no, so.
Well, usually I may be doing stuff here and there. A couple of weeks ago, I wasn't going to be home when you asked, but,
Joking with you.
So there. But, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're all great, and we always love having you come on.
And I do when I can, so that's a good thing.
Next time you're local, like hitting for Hollywood Forever or anything like that, let me know.
You know what? It's so hard for me to get out there. I think I've only been there twice in recent months.
Dearly Departed's doing a whole bunch of stuff for the holidays.
I know. He's got a Houdini seance on the 31st up there. Yeah.
Well, why don't you give us out all your stuff where people can get a hold of you, find you, follow you, and listen to your show?
Really quickly and so simply, its website is marlabrooks.com, and ParaX on Thursday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern, and I'm on Facebook. Easy to find.
And Twitter.
And Twitter, yes. I bit the butt on that one. I did. So, yeah. And if you just Google me, you'll find me. I'm easy to find.
All right. Hang out for a couple minutes. We'll talk with you when we get off. Next week, a couple weeks back, we did a show and we couldn't actually get on, but we did the show. So next week, we are going to play that podcast for our regular show. It is with Cody Knotts, who is the director of the movie Kecksburg. So very interesting show that was. So tune in and listen to that. The only reason we're playing a pre-taped one is normally I don't take off unless it is because of some sort of mechanical problems. And this time, though, I am going to a Halloween party.
Woo-hoo.
And we had a taped show that hadn't been aired yet, so we are going to play that next week at the same time. So, Jeff, why don't you give our stuff out real quick?
TheParanormalView.com is our official site. Go to Facebook.com/TheParanormalView. There we are. We're on Twitter at ParaViewRadio, and I'm on Twitter at Real Badger, RealBadger. I'm also findable on Facebook. So there you go.
So with that, I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. Hope everybody had a great time. And Barbara, you got anything real quick? All right. So good night, everybody. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. Join us again next week at the same time for more of the Paranormal